Have you ever seen an insect that looks oddly like a giraffe? Well, if you're from Madagascar, odds are you have. Welcome to episode 72 of Insects for Fun, the entomology and arthropod podcast hosted by me, Mitchell Logan, a master in entomology. Today, we're going to the island of Madagascar to learn about one of the wackiest looking weevils out there. Giraffe weevils, aptly named Trachylophorus giraffa, are special weevils in the family Atellabidae. The reason is simply because their bodies resemble a giraffe, and that's not a stretch, unlike their long necks. Seriously though, the weevils have a thorax that goes vertically up and then extends outward, and is sometimes 2 times the length of the abdomen. I should mention though that this extreme length is specifically for the males. Female giraffe weevils do not have nearly as long of a neck, but they still look more like a giraffe than any other weevil. And just to recap, this type of physical difference is called sexual dimorphism, and it's a direct result of evolutionary pressure placed on males. As for their total size, giraffe weevils at their largest are around 3 centimeters in length, but they're most often seen as 2.5 or less. Now, naturally, you must be wondering why on earth males need long giraffe-like necks, and it's not for their charming appearance. The males face off in combat over a potential mate, and because the female weevils only use one specific plant for their eggs, odds are that males will encounter other males. The plants used by these weevils are 2 species in the family of flowers known as Melastomataceae, and are endemic to the island of Madagascar, just like the beetles themselves, which means you cannot find them anywhere else in the world unless they got shipped for a showcase. I also want to mention that the beetles are a sleek black with bright red elytra, making them look stunning when sitting atop their favorite plants. Now, let's talk about what the females do with their necks, because it's actually more impressive. You see, female giraffe weevils use their shorter necks to cut and stitch a single leaf into a neatly rolled up package for the purpose of carrying a single egg. The females meticulously create small insertions into the back of a leaf, and then use their strong legs to fold the leaf in half along its central vein, making it easier to bend and roll. She starts rolling at the tip, where she lays a single egg, and then continues to fold the leaf until the entire thing is rolled up. As she's rolling the leaf, the male walks around guarding her and the egg to make sure there's no interference, other than him of course. And once the leaf is completely rolled up and ready to go, the female cuts it from the stem, where it drops to the forest floor. The entire process takes around 30 minutes, which might seem like a lot to us, but I think that's pretty fast, considering the weevils are much smaller than the leaf they're rolling. Now, unfortunately, we don't know much about their larval stage or how long they take to mature. One source online said they live for a year, but I don't think it's accurate due to seeing some contradictory information from almost every other source. Also, this weevil wasn't discovered until 2008, and people haven't really jumped on it to learn more. Then again, there isn't really a reason other than out of pure curiosity, because the beetles pose no threats to humanity or Madagascar's native vegetation. It should also be noted that there is another giraffe weevil, which leads us to the second half of today's episode.
There's more!
We're now moving away from Madagascar to another island, New Zealand, which is where an entirely different weevil with the same common name can be found. The New Zealand giraffe weevil is in the family Brentidae, and the species is Lasiorhynchus barbicornis. The name means bearded horn in densely hairy rostrum. And yes, the rostrum on male weevils does in fact have a bunch of short hairs under it, which I think is hilarious because it really looks like a super long nose with a sparse mustache. But clearly people think giraffe is a better name. And I guess it works, because this is the longest beetle in New Zealand. This giraffe beetle, unlike the Madagascar one, is pretty flat and not nearly as flashy. But it does have an incredibly long rostrum. The males, again, are the ones with the longer appendages, and the male rostrum for the New Zealand giraffe weevil can reach a length of 4.5 centimeters. That's actually pretty crazy, considering it's just the snout. The total length for a male can reach 9 centimeters, making them much larger than the Madagascar giraffe weevils, and females usually max out at around 5 centimeters. Now, of course, the question here is, why are they sexually dimorphic? Well, you'll be shocked to learn that male New Zealand giraffe weevils also use their giant appendages for battle. But not all the males do this. There's actually quite a lot of variation within the sizes of males for this species, and the smaller ones have good success with finding mates by sneaking past larger males who are in the middle of combat. It's also been found that the size of these weevils is connected to their geographic location within New Zealand, and larger weevils are often found further south. This species of weevil was found and described back in 1775, which means there's a lot more information readily available, so I can actually tell you with confidence about their life cycle. The adults feed on sap and nectar, but sap seems to be their primary source of food. And their most common host tree is the karaka tree, also known as the New Zealand laurel, which is an evergreen endemic to the island. Adult weevils are active during the day and spend their days eating and searching for mates. They only have a few weeks as adults, and their breeding season begins around late fall and ends in spring. February is the pinnacle month for finding adults in the wild, if you live in New Zealand and want to go give it a shot. Once a female has mated, she uses her smaller rostrum to bore a hole into fallen, dying, or recently dead trees. She makes these holes at a 45-degree angle and will actually crawl in to clear the sawdust out. Meanwhile, her partner will stand guard and help her if she gets stuck. Once the hole is finished, she deposits one egg and then caps the hole with the sawdust. These eggs hatch and the larvae feed on fungi that grow within the trees. It takes them 2 years to reach adulthood. Now, the New Zealand weevils don't do anything quite as fancy as rolling up leaves, but they do have a trick up their sleeve when it comes to avoiding predation. They eject themselves off of trees when disturbed and lay lifeless on the ground amongst leaf litter, playing dead up to an hour before climbing back up into the tree. And with that, this wraps up this week's episode on giraffe weevils. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, please make sure to leave a review and rate the pod. It takes way less time than writing an episode, and it doesn't cost anything. Now, if you want more Insects for Fun content, you can find it on Patreon and cash in on a growing collection of bonus episodes and vlogs. If you have a request for something you'd like to learn more about, you can email me at insectsfordummies@gmail.com or send me a DM on Instagram. Thanks again for listening.